Transparency is key, and some car makers take it quite literally. You could open up your archives and reveal your past dark secrets, or admit you cheated on emission tests, or tell us more about the data you collect from your connected vehicles, or, simply change the color of your taillights so you can see through them. Welcome everyone to a very transparent episode 72 of the Automotive History series, where we're going to look through the clear taillight craze of the early 2000s. The earliest cars had some set of lights or lanterns on the front of the car, mostly to make it visible that something was coming down the road, but they usually lacked taillights. By the mid-1910s, the first cars started to adopt lights facing the rear as well, and it was decided to make these lights red because of a mix of reasons. A different color on the rear made it easier to distinguish what was the front and rear of the car, and in which direction it moved. The color red was associated with danger, think of things like fire and blood, and was already used by signals in the railway industry. And doesn't really matter what color it is if you can't see behind you while driving. And so red taillights became an industry standard. For quite some time, no thought was given about the design of these lights, as they were often just an item on the car and styled after the most basic shapes there are, circles and squares. In the decades following the Second World War, taillights were increasingly seen as an integral part of the styling of the car, and one way to tell the story of what your car was about. What followed were styling trends where taillights were designed in the most creative shapes and sizes. But the bottom line with all these designs is that the glass and/or the bulb is always red. Or is it? Entering the early 2000s, and it was Toyota of all car makers that sent shockwaves through the automotive landscape, because what if we make our taillights not red, but clear? Introducing the 1998 Toyota Altezza. Wait, no, that's not right. We need to turn back the clock. Much better. Introducing the 1962 Cadillacs with the so-called three-phase rear lighting system. I mean, you gotta love it. Although from the outside the taillights appeared to be clean and clear, the approach Cadillac had in order to achieve this look was a lot more complex than how Toyota pulled it off. And that says a lot when you remember that this was from the early 1960s. The three-phase rear lighting system is genius, but also complex, because what appears to be clear taillights actually has a double function. You can turn it white or red, so it functions as a taillight, brake light, and backup light. Through a complex system of different lamps, glass, filters, and lenses, Cadillac was able to keep some of its tail lamps all clear white glass while emitting a red or white light. Cadillac would continue this approach for a number of years, and each year the styling of the lights and the way the three-phase rear lighting system worked was different. And why wouldn't you make it unnecessarily complex? Well, styling, baby! The clear glass perfectly matches with the metal trim and the chrome bumpers. This technology also found its way to the 1966 Oldsmobile 98, which, from a distance, doesn't really look all that different from the rear compared to a 1966 Cadillac. Of course, the competition needed an answer, and Chrysler came up with their approach in 1965 on the top-of-the-line New Yorker as an option. But this one was a lot simpler. Instead of red glass, clear white glass was used, but the bulb was still red. So when the lights weren't on, it all looked clear and white, but if the lights were on, red light would be emitted through clear glass. The clear glass was given such a design treatment that it formed an almost indistinguishable part of the rear-end metal panel between the lights. A clever trick, as it almost makes you wonder if the car even came with a set of taillights at all. Ford also couldn't stay behind and introduced their spin on the theme on their over-styled Thunderbird for 1966. It should be noted that besides what I'm about to tell you, these T-Birds already came with another party trick, sequential turning signals. But when it comes to clear lighting, it was a bit different than the other two. The center section, so where the Thunderbird logo is placed, is a piece of glass that has some red tint to it, like it's a continuation of the taillight bar. However, these lights also function as the backup lights. So when the backup lights weren't on, it appears as typical red glass. But when you did put the car in reverse, the red lamp suddenly emits white light. And this concludes a little look back. As quickly as it appeared, it also disappeared. I think mostly because of cost-cutting reasons. And every time I see a modern-day car maker come up with a new gimmick, I'm always surprised to find out that the Americans already had something similar half a century ago. Oh, wait a minute. Just dial it back a bit. Oh, that looks like a commercial. edsautoreviews proudly presents Eds Automotive Art Emporium, the official merch store. That's right, over at Eds Emporium, you can find the finest in automotive art made by yours truly. Whether it's a plate you want to hang on your wall in your home or garage, or magnets and stickers that you want to stick on the rear bumper of your classic ride, or expand your wardrobe with some car-themed apparel, I'm sure you're gonna love these designs. All designs are made by me and my own ideas, no AI trickery involved, for classic car owners that can handle a joke, and more designs get added along the way. By buying an artwork, you get to hang something nice on your wall, and I get to work on my retirement plans. So visit your local Eds Automotive Art Emporium by searching for edsautoreviews.dashery.com or click the link in the description and get your awesome automotive art today. Back to 1998, when Toyota released the Altezza and other markets sold as the rebadged Lexus IS series in an effort to lure young boy racers to Lexus dealers after making one retirement community on wheels after another. When you really look at it, Toyota's approach for clear taillights isn't even all that special. You make the otherwise red glass clear and only cover the actual lights within the lamp with red glass, much like how Chrysler did it back in the 60s. This results in A clean look, B, a cheap look, or C, a tuned or sporty look, and I'll leave it up to you in the comments to tell me what you think. It didn't matter, as the Lexus or Altezza style taillights, as they now were referred to, unleashed a short-lived typical mid-2000s craze. Many car companies followed by either installing these lights from the factory, or the aftermarket tuning companies offered them as replacements. Toyota installed this approach on some other auto models, including the Prius. More Japanese car makers followed, like Nissan with their Altima, Subaru with the Impreza, Mazda with the Mazda 6, and Mitsubishi with the Lancer model. Interesting to note is that the lights are also referred to as European or Euro-spec lights, which is interesting as I can't really think of any car other than Saab to have clear taillights, apart from the tuned or customized European cars, of course. Saab not only adopted the clear look, it also gave it a marketing twist, calling it the ice block taillights as a reference to the colder northern Swedish climates. Especially the station wagon lights make them look like ice stalactites. Right, stalagmites. I hope my geography teacher won't see this. But like I said, as much as they were called Euro lights, not a lot of European cars had them. A few American car makers were still active selling their cars in Europe in the 2000s. And what is interesting is that when they decided to sell some of their American car models in the EU, part of the process to convert them from US spec to EU spec, the taillights were made clear. The Ford Mustang has red taillights in the US, but clear, almost silver grayish lights in the EU and other export markets. The second generation Cadillac CTS was also given a clear taillight treatment when they were shipped to Europe. And I must admit, it looks exceptionally good on the sharp edge CTS Coupe, pretty much a continuation of the silver grey paint job. By the early to mid-2000s, many car makers dropped the clear look and went back to full red taillights. The most entertaining explanation is it became an overplayed styling gimmick with a tainted image thanks to the aftermarket tuning culture. Over the years, it was seen as rather cheap. A more solid explanation was the latest development in LED technology, which allows lamps to show different colors. Pretty much the Cadillac system all over again, but now a bit less complex and a bit more futuristic. And so I'd love to say that the craze ended somewhere in the mid-2010s, with Toyota being the OG, but also the last one to keep it alive with such cars as the GT86 and the Toyota Fortuner SUV. But with the adoption of LED taillights, the clear look never really went away. These days there are some cars out there that what appear to have greyish taillights that turn on any desired color if necessary. Think orange, red, and white, and are effectively the next step of clear taillights. Think of the Ford Mustang Mach-E or the Peugeot 5008. And with that, it's now for me time to put the lights out. If you wish to know more about the history of headlights, then click the video in the top left. If you wish to know, well, I don't really know what video is showed there, but you can just also click the video in the bottom left.